So, everybody, good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Danielle Smaha, and I am Manomet's Director of Marketing and Communications. If you're new to Manomet, for the past 5 decades, we have served as a research and education resource for local, national, and international students. Our belief is that education is one of the best tools to create long-term change, and we hope that our expertise will inspire the next generation of conservationists, especially as we begin to feel the effects of climate change. We're here tonight to talk about our U360 internship program and tell you all about it. Hopefully you will enjoy the experience and get to hear from our program director, Lora Babb, as well as several of our U360 alumni. So tonight, as we go through this webinar, if you have any questions, please take a look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you should see a box marked Q&A. At any point during tonight's program, feel free to add your questions into the Q&A box, and at the end of the evening, we will take as many questions as we possibly can. Also, this event is being recorded, and so following tonight's webinar, we will be sending you an email link, which we hope that you will enjoy and share with any friends who might also be interested in pursuing an internship for next school year. So without any further ado, I'm about to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Lora Babb, who is our U360 Program Director. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Danielle, and thank you all for being here. As Danielle said, I'm Lora Babb, and I'm the director of our U360 Business Sustainability Internship Program here at Manomet. And before we get to the panel discussion, I am going to give just a brief overview of the program, just so as the alums start sharing their experience as former interns, you have a sense of what we're even talking about in terms of what the internship experience is. So before I do that, though, I would like to welcome and introduce our awesome panel of former U360 interns that we have here today, and I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves. So if you want to just kind of take turns and share with the audience a little bit about yourself, and then in particular, if you want to share what inspired you to first apply to U360 back when you did.
I can get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Autumn, and I am a senior at the University of Vermont. I'm studying community and international development, and I'm zooming in from here in Burlington. I decided to apply to U360 when I was a junior because at that point in time, I didn't have a lot of internship experience, and I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about the program because I had never seen business and sustainability before combined into one program. So that's what really drove me to apply how unique U360 looked.
I'll go next. Hi, my name is Emma. I'm a philosophy and theater major at Mount Holyoke College, and I'm currently a junior. I'm zooming in from campus, so South Hadley. The reason why I applied to U360 is I've been interested in sustainability for so long, and when I saw the info session for U360, I just go right through it and saw Laura and talked to Laura. And there are so many fantastic aspects of being able to talk to business owners that really got me hooked. And as a theater arts major, I really want to get deeply to know about the art industry by this perspective. So I was able to pick art industry as my topic for the spring semester and dive deeply into the topic that I'm interested in.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Koss, and I graduated from University of Southern Maine last year. My major was environmental planning and policy, and I now currently work at the Greater Portland Council of Governments, which is a regional planning office, and I support our municipal climate action planning and programs. I am zooming in from Portland, Maine, and I was really interested in this internship because my two interests really are environment and business. And I had a hard time kind of choosing a major because of that. And I remember talking to my faculty advisor, and we were just kind of chatting, and I was like, he said, "What is your dream job?" And I said, "I want to be an environmental consultant someday," because it really combines those two interests. And he kind of was like, "I have the perfect internship for you." And he told me about Laura and this program, and I applied and I got in.
Can go next. My name is Mallory. I went to Suffolk University where I studied economics. I graduated in January of this year, and I'm still in Boston, which is where Suffolk is. So that's where I'm Zooming from today. And currently I work as a legislative aide at the Massachusetts House of Representatives. And I originally applied for U360 because I was starting to get interested in sustainability in my personal life and kind of sustainable living and practices. And I wanted to find some sort of internship where I could incorporate that and some professional skills, and U360 was perfect for that.
I'll go next. Hey everyone, my name is Max Hayes. I graduated from Brandeis University in 2019. I'm currently Skyping in from Washington, D.C., where I'm working as a contracted employee for the Department of Energy. And I was really inspired to apply for U360 mostly because of that interconnection between business and sustainability, but also the opportunity to take my education out of the world of theory and into reality by networking with business owners.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Dolloff. I'm an alumni of the University of Southern Maine, graduated in 2020 in their business program under the sustainability track. I currently work at NASDAQ in their ESG reporting service. And as I said before, there's a lot of alignment between U360 and my academic program. It was also really flexible for me, which was very attractive as a crazy busy college student, as you all can understand. And I was just very happy to see that much alignment with the program.
All right, thanks everybody. And yeah, those were great. Thanks for taking a second to introduce yourselves. And it was fun hearing yeah, you reflect on what led you to apply in the first place. So as I said, I just want to take a couple minutes to give a brief overview of the program. And I want to add that we are going to be offering some info sessions, which I'll talk about at the end. So we have some virtual info sessions coming up where we'll go into much more detail about the sort of curriculum and the content of the program. So tonight I'm just going to give a quick overview, and then we're going to turn it over to hear the perspective of all of these former U360 interns. So one thing that's really important to know about U360 is it is very different from sort of a typical traditional internship. It's, as Danielle mentioned, we are a nonprofit, and as such, U360 is actually one of our mission-based programs. So I just want to take a second to kind of describe the mission and purpose of U360. So U360 is really a professional development and experiential education program. So it's very different, like I said, from sort of interning, you know, within one department of a company or something. So it's actually a really comprehensive program that has a curriculum and learning objectives. And the primary purpose of U360 is to really prepare the next generation of change makers who want to make a difference in the world. So in particularly, making a difference in regard to environmental sustainability, social issues, economics, so really looking at kind of those three parts of sustainability. And the idea being that one way that young people can make an impact on the world is through their future workplaces, in their communities. And so U360 is really about giving college students and our youngest adults the interpersonal skills and real world experience to really go out there and make a difference make an impact in the areas that matter most to you. So this sort of Venn diagram really kind of encapsulates the purpose of U360, which is, like I said, kind of preparing this next generation of change makers and conservationists and sustainability champions and whatnot. That it's so there's a very strong educational component to this. Like I said, there is a set curriculum, which we'll talk about in a minute. But in order to really be able to do some of this important work, whether that's working to tackle climate change or, social justice issues and whatnot, one thing that's really important is to be able to get hired by companies so you can, potentially change some things from the inside, so you can help businesses change their practices or, make a difference like I said, affecting social issues when a company has a much larger impact than maybe an individual could. So U360 is really focused on helping young people develop the skills that employers are most seeking. So I'll talk about that in a little bit too. So the entire curriculum is focused on the skills that employers say are most vital. And it's really about helping students develop kind of all the skills that they need to kind of step in, to get their first paid internship position over the summer or their first job out of college. We kind of joke that it's a little bit of like a professional development boot camp in U360. So kind of you may have no experience coming into the program in the professional world, and it's really designed to help you build all of those skills and confidence with those skills. And then, part of the mission piece too is U360 is really focused on helping small businesses reduce their environmental impact and strengthen sort of the small business economy in our country. So the direct engagement between the students and the businesses is also a really key part of this program. And in fact, I will kind of talk about that in a second when we go through the curriculum. But kind of put another way, U360 gives college students real world experience in 3 areas that we see as vital to affecting change in the world. So one is career preparedness, like I said, those professional and interpersonal skills. And these are all things that you can't get through coursework alone, and you can't learn just in the classroom. So these professional and interpersonal skills, an understanding of applied business sustainability. So taking the principles and concepts that you're learning in class, regardless of which major you're studying, and actually understanding how these things are put into practice in the real world. So kind of that tangible real world experience that is really hard to attain when you haven't been out working in the real world yet, and then the last one is an understanding of how to work with people who think differently than you. And this one is really critical because when it comes to tackling really complex challenges such as climate change, you need to find a way to balance all different kind of perspectives and viewpoints, and there'll be people who think very differently about the issue than you do. And so U360 is really about learning how to find common ground with people and how to work with people rather than against people. And just kind of a quick overview of the nuts and bolts of the program. And again, we'll elaborate on a lot of this when the alums are actually sharing their perspective. But the U360 program is a 2-semester program in the fall and spring semesters. So you do enroll in the program for it's 8 consecutive months, and it does follow the academic calendar. So all the same holidays and breaks. It's about 10 hours a week on average. Some weeks are a little lighter than that, some are a little more than that, but it comes out to about an average of 10 hours a week. We accept up to 40 students each year from, right now it's schools throughout the East Coast. And then it is a virtual program. It always has been a virtual program. I designed it this way to really increase the access for students so that students we originally started in New England, and this year we've expanded outside of New England, but it was to allow students outside of, like a half-hour radius of our office from being able to participate. And it's also to make it really accessible in terms of, as Tom mentioned, being flexible with your schedule. You don't have to travel anywhere to go to work for your internship. And I should mention that those 10 hours a week really are flexible in terms of kind of designing your own schedule somewhat. And then it is designed for rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So in other words, when you're participating, you are a sophomore, junior, or senior, not necessarily when you're applying. And we do consider grad students on sort of an individual basis, but the program really is geared towards undergrads. And it is an unpaid internship, but course credit is often available, and it depends on your university, your major, and credit can come in the form of internship credit, sometimes independent study, things like that. Electives, I've had students get credit all those different ways. And then just sort of an overview of the curriculum. So the 2 semesters, as it says here, it is again an experiential education and professional development program. And it does have a set curriculum that is broken into these 4 phases. And so over the course of these 2 semesters, you would be enrolled in a class, like I said, of up to 40, but then you're broken into smaller teams that sort of serve as your colleagues throughout the year. So you become pretty tight knit with your team, and you know, we enroll students from all different colleges, different majors, grade levels, geographic locations, you know, diversity in terms of racial and ethnic diversity, gender diversity, age, socioeconomic, you know, all different facets. And so you'll be on a team with, you know, a lot of like-minded peers, but potentially peers you would never have met otherwise. And so the first phase of the program is the first 6 weeks of the fall semester. And it's a series of educational workshops and career skills training sessions. So in the educational workshop, we spend 2 weeks kind of covering all the foundational basics of business sustainability. So we look at, you know, the realities of running and owning a small business, how to engage with small business owners, the environmental issues that impact small businesses, what individuals and businesses can do to improve these environmental issues, kind of business management 101. So it's taking everybody from all different majors and getting everybody speaking the same language and really covering the foundational knowledge, because very few, if any, students come in with any prior knowledge of business sustainability specifically, because it's not often offered, you know, as a major or even as courses sometimes. So, and then the next 4 weeks are really the training for the rest of the program. So we do, you know, professional communication do's and don'ts, time and project management, outreach strategies, how to research the businesses you're going to be contacting. And then we dive deep into the sustainability assessment that students use when they interview small businesses throughout the year. So there's actually a, you know, a set assessment that we have to evaluate a business's sustainability. So we spend a lot of time going through that assessment, practicing the interviews and whatnot, making sure everybody feels totally prepared and confident to go on to do the work of the program. So as I go through each phase, I would love to hear from our alums here, just any reflection on, you know, when you did this phase, or, you know, your experience in each phase. So if any of you have any thoughts about what phase 1 was like, I would love to hear that.
Personally, this may go against some of the other alums, but I honestly found phase 1 to be probably my favorite phase of the program. Just like the wealth of learning that we gained in that short period of time was invaluable, not only for the program, but also personally. I think a lot of the topics covered were things I wouldn't have even learned in the classroom. So it was very informative and created a lot of value for me.
Yeah, I also want to add on to Tom, because one of the Laura's workshop is on the products that we use in daily lives, and that has like personal impact on me. And I examine all the labels, the products that I brought now, and examine whether they're sustainability friendly and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the environmental issues we talk about are like everyday toxins and chemicals and people's exposure to chemicals through business practices and whatnot. So that's the workshop that Emma is referring to.
Yeah, I had just the other day an experience where somebody brought up microwaving things in plastic to me, and it made me reflect on that workshop and kind of regurgitate some of the information that I still remember from learning then. So that's definitely a standout workshop, but also just everything else you learned in phase 1. You learned so much in such a short amount of time about things that are just really, really interesting and engaging, and also just very important to know. So phase 1 was a really interesting time for me personally.
I'll just add real quick that I still use some of the project management tools that we were taught in phase 1. So it's a really good foundation for setting yourself up for success further down your career.
Great. Oh yeah, the actual training part too. Yes, after the education part. So and you're not the only one who's told me that some of the project management tools, and there's a whole system for tracking the correspondence with the businesses that a lot of alums use in their jobs after that. So excellent. So after we complete phase 1, we move on to phase 2, which is 20 weeks of the program. So it's about 8 weeks in the fall semester and 12 or so weeks in the spring semester. And so this is really the bulk of the program of the internship. So this is when each student compiles a list of small businesses nationwide or even outside the US that you have researched, that you're interested in learning more about. And it's, you know, a pretty large list because you have to reach out to way more businesses than you would think to get the number that actually say yes to participating. And the target is that each student ends up interviewing 20 to 30 businesses during phase 2. So each student does that number on their own over the course of those 20 weeks. And so during phase 2, we have one team meeting a week where, you know, I'm providing coaching and guidance and support, and we're in pretty regular communication throughout the week via phone, email, video chatting and whatnot. But this is the time where you really get to be sort of flexible in your schedule. And what you are doing is this outreach. So you're managing all the correspondence yourself. We provide email templates and phone scripts, but you're, you know, to sort of assist in all of that, but you're the one kind of managing your email correspondence, scheduling the interviews based on your availability. You're conducting the interviews on your own. So there's no other student with you, no supervisor with you. So you're interviewing the small business owners over the phone or over video chat. Like I said, conducting this assessment. So the interview itself explores the business's environmental, social, and governance practices, or what we call the triple bottom line of business. And so the assessment is a series of open-ended questions and multiple choice questions. So you're having these really engaging conversations with all different types of business owners, and then transferring all the answers to me so that I can then process their answers and generate sustainability scores for the business. And I follow up with every business to go over their scores with them and connect them with our online toolkit where they can access resources to help them improve their practices and really reduce their environmental footprint and increase their social and economic well-being. And so in the fall, you reach out to a whole variety of different business types. Like the more variation, the better. And then as you're learning the ropes and getting the hang of the outreach and how to make phone calls and all of that. And then in the spring, each student picks one business, industry, or topic to focus on. And that can be of your choosing. So we have, you know, some that have done like the food system or transportation. We've had businesses related to animals. We've had women-owned businesses. So you really get to focus on a subject matter and sector of our economy that's personally interesting to you. So yes, biggest part of the program, and it's by far the aspect of the program that, like, it's the bulk of the curriculum when it comes to learning as well. So this phase is absolutely how students most achieve the educational and professional development goals of this program. And I should say U360 is entirely focused on the students' learning experience. It's all centered around that. And so this is where most of that happens. So if any of you have thoughts about phase 2, I'd love to hear that.
I know I really liked phase 2 because it's your chance to talk with a small business that maybe you've always been interested in or walked by and thought it was maybe cool or whatever. So you can kind of talk with them and even network with them if you're possibly interested in working for them. And also, I just want to mention that as you search for jobs after graduating, a lot of them will be like comfortable with talking on the phone or even as far as cold calling. And I would say this phase helped me become comfortable with just talking with someone on the phone that I've never met before and maybe only communicated through with email.
Kind of adding on to what Emma just said, because I wasn't really focused on my job post-graduation when I was doing the program, it really made me think about what kind of company and what kind of company culture I was looking for when doing these interviews, and seeing companies who really went the full spectrum of valuing different kinds of benefits or different kind of programs that they led. And it also, in addition, for my personal understanding, it was really uplifting to hear how creative and unique, and even more so now with COVID, business owners are in their communities the different initiatives that they're putting forward. So that was something that you don't really see when you're just looking at a business for face value. But then when you really get inside their head, and people really want to share with you what they've learned and honestly would love to talk for so long about their business. And it's kind of a unique opportunity to get to that inside level.
I'd also add that an interesting part about this internship is that you get to represent Manomet. So there aren't many internship opportunities where you're the person facing the client, in this case, the business owner. So it was really great to get that professional experience of representing your company before going out into the professional world and having that space to learn and learn from your peers and figure it out as you're going along. And also kind of building off what Autumn said, like the word entrepreneur or business owner is so vague, and this gives you such a tangible way to understand what that means and how difficult it is, but also, yeah, how inspiring and motivating it can be to understand what it takes to run and own a small business.
Excellent. So a lot of the panel questions that I'm going to be asking you relate to phase two, so there'll be a lot more opportunity to share your thoughts on phase two for those of you who didn't get a chance to share your thoughts just then. So the program ends, it's kind of a combination of phase three and phase four. So the last 4 or 5 weeks of the spring semester is when you get the opportunity to culminate everything you've learned from the workshops and the trainings and all of your interviews with so many different types of businesses and really step into the shoes of business consultant. So this final culminating capstone project is each student picks one business that they interviewed during the year, and they create a sustainability action plan for the business. So concrete, tangible, creative, practical recommendations for how this business can improve its overall sustainability. Again, reducing its environmental footprint, improving its relationship with its employees and its customers and whatnot, really looking at the sustainability of the business itself. So each student gets the opportunity to create this final project and then turn it into a presentation or almost like a pitch. So if you were talking to the business owner, how would you sort of sell this action plan and really show them the benefits to their business of adopting some of these recommendations that you're making? And so the program ends with a capstone competition where students present their action plans to judges, and they have to field questions from the judges to sort of defend their thinking and kind of explain different aspects of their action plan. There's a lot of research that goes on into this, and there's a lot of creativity. And then students compete for the title of Manomet's Next Generation Scholar for that year and scholarship awards. So it's really an awesome culminating event. I will put in a plug that it's happening on May 25th this year. So if you join the Manomet mailing list, you'll get notifications about how to register for that event when we have that, and it'll be also on Zoom, but it's going to be a really fun event. So any thoughts on phases 3 and 4?
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it was my favorite. I really enjoyed it. I just wanted to throw that in real quick. Go ahead, Tom.
So I was actually going to match this to what Emma said about why she chose U360. This is definitely the representation of that consultant aspect of the program. It's also something I'm very interested in as well, even in my current position. Just being able to look at a business and really go into a thorough analysis and then create a strong pitch to why they should change and the benefits they can change surrounding those ESG topics to benefit.
Anyone else?
It's also my favorite part, similar to Max. I really love the problem solving aspects of it. Like there are a lot of challenges for each businesses, and without any knowledge, background knowledge in business for me, and just dive deeply into all the research from business schools, and the papers to see what they do. It's so interesting.
Great. So I'm actually going to stop sharing the screen so I can see all of you. So thank you for all of that. So that's essentially, like I said, an overview of the program to all of you in the audience. But as I mentioned, we will have, we're going to be offering some info sessions between now and the deadline where we kind of go through that curriculum in more detail. There's an alum with me every time we have an info session, so you can ask questions of me, former student. But right now, I'd love to hear more about your experiences in the program. So my first question, I mentioned in my overview that U360's curriculum is focused on the skills that employers are most seeking. And what I meant by that is there's an organization called the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they do comprehensive surveying of major employers every year and asking them to identify what they see as the key competencies in their workforce. So what are the skills they're most looking for from applicants and from their employees? And every year they also indicate that they're not seeing those skills in sort of the frequency or numbers that they would like. So the whole curriculum for U360 is based on helping students develop these skills. And so I'm going to run through kind of the key ones, and I would love to hear your thoughts on whether you feel that that is true, that you developed some of these skills specifically through U360. So big one is written and verbal communication skills, creative problem solving and strategic thinking, teamwork and collaboration, and professionalism and work ethic. And there's actually 8 of them, but those are kind of the 4 biggest ones that U360. So we'll just focus on those. We cover all of them, but we'll focus on these 4. So any thoughts you all have about those?
Yeah, so just to touch on interpersonal kind of interaction and communication, I think that when you're a college student, it becomes really easy to just think about what do I need to get done and what is my task. And you don't think quite as much about the teamwork aspect, because when it's an assignment, it's just assigned to you. And unless you're working in a group project, most of the time you're just kind of focusing on yourself and what you need to get done. And I think that what's really great about U360 is it's still very self-directed and you're very independent in your work, but you're also interacting with people all the time and you're kind of building those skills and getting the opportunity to just network with other people and also just work together towards something, I think is something that's hard to come by in the classroom. And U360 really provided that for me.
So to speak towards the written and verbal communication aspect of it, that's very central to the whole program. I would say before U360, my emails were somewhat reptilian. And after the program, I grew a lot in that field specifically, definitely thanks to Laura and her support and guidance, and also just through trial and error. The outreach is tremendous, both in terms of like the experience you gain from it, but also just the interactions you're going to have with small businesses is incredibly interesting and engaging.
Speaking to, go ahead.
No, you go. Okay, I'll go. So in terms of professionalism and work ethic, it is a remote internship. And I would say that's super important, especially given this time we're in. I participated in 2018, so before we knew this was going to happen, but I definitely had an advantage over a lot of my coworkers, knowing how to manage my time and how to stay focused on my end goal through this internship and now through my work. So I would say that the remote work and, prioritizing it over other things, even though you're not going to the office, is super important to learn now before you get out into the real world.
And just quickly on that professionalism and work ethic too, I think a lot of times as college students, the work ethic is there, but you're not really taught the tools you need to convey yourself professionally to others. And one of the most important workshops personally was Laura gave us feedback on our interviews with her and our interactions with her as we were applying, and the resumes that we sent in, and just kind of seeing the before and after was shocking but important, especially as someone who thought they kind of had a decent resume coming in and then going, wow, no, this is, I guess, decent for what I'm taught in school, but not really what professionals are looking for after graduation.
I'm going to touch on teamwork. And,
yes, all of you, whoever, yes, go for it, Emma.
I still remember when we need to present action plan for Laura, and the night before I practiced with Mallory and like for many times, and the team is really valuable. Like the most valuable thing for me for this program is like a whole U360 family where we are all together. And especially I did this internship during pandemic, so it's also like a support group and an emotional group for all the difficulties that we've been through. So extra fantastic part of U360.
Max, it looked like you were going to say something too.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the like problem solving and creative thinking, and just connect that to professionalism. So like through your outreach, you're going to have to get creative and try new things, and having that opportunity to try different things and think outside of the box and see what works and what doesn't was really valuable for me. And then being able to apply that in the capstone at the end and kind of really bring together all the lessons you've learned throughout the year, as well as the professional skills you've built. It was just amazing to go back and watch the videos of myself presenting and just see how far I'd come along in my ability to think outside the box and say what I wanted to say in a professional way instead of just rambling about theories and ideas, which isn't necessarily what the real world is about.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. So as I mentioned in the overview, as we talk about at Manomet, U360 is designed to give, the next generation, the younger generation, real world experience in 3 areas that we see as vital to being effective change makers. So this program is really, again, for people who want to make a difference in the world and need a seat at the table, need their voices to be heard. And unfortunately, a lot of times young people, are told that they don't have enough experience, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're too young, and what do you know about this issue? And, and we don't subscribe to that thinking at Manomet. In fact, we think that those of, young people are going to be disproportionately impacted by climate change, and the people who will be most affected by it need a voice in the issue and need to be part of the problem solving. And so U360 is really about helping to young people develop these skills that they will need to be change makers. And so the 3 areas we've just touched on the professional skills, but there were 2 others that I mentioned. There was the an understanding of practical applied sustainability, so how business sustainability works in the real world, and then an understanding of how to work with people who think differently than you. So those 2, I would love to hear your thoughts about the sort of those outcomes for you in those 2 areas. Now it's not a small question.
So I guess another part, so to address that just in terms of the interview aspect, you're gonna get a wide variety of people you're going to talk to. Even the people that say no to you, you're going to experience a lot of different personalities. I think just from asking questions to them, like, do you have a recycling program? And if they just say no, that's pretty neutral. But some people, they may have more opinionated responses, and that's still valuable to hear, just to see what their perspective is on these wide variety of topics, like retirement plans, or just anything that sort of fits into that ESG spectrum. And you're going to have to smile and be professional about that. And that's also a good way to understand business sustainability, is some people don't practice it. And that's a big reason why we chose to do this program, is to better understand the barriers to it, as well as see the practical implications to addressing it.
I'd say it's like a really valuable skill to have in the professional world, to be able to interact with those who have very different perspectives from you, but in a productive and professional manner. And also learning how to frame sustainability in a way that can appeal to people who might be in a different situation than you. So I really learned a lot about how business owners think about sustainability. And a lot of times as a small business, they're operating on pretty small margins and profits. So a lot of times with small businesses, it's learning how to speak about sustainability in terms of the bottom line of dollars, but it is great to just have that diversity of perspectives in your bank and have those skills to apply to your careers down the road. Because like Tom said, you're never gonna be in an environment where everyone agrees with you, like in college or in the classes that you're in. So it is a great chance to just interact with people of different perspectives and different ages and different areas. Like when I did the program, it was just businesses in the US, but now it's, businesses all over, which I think is a great opportunity. And I hope the students take advantage of that.
I will speak to the interpersonal skills. One of my intentions on going into this internship is like as an international student, I want to practice my second language as much as possible. And during this opportunity, by talking to the business owner like again and again and again, it helps me to know how to talk to people in a pleasant way for them, that they are willing to talk to me and they're willing to speak to about their business, and they're willing to open up. So that's a very valuable part too.
Excellent. All right. So now that we've kind of talked about the broader aspects of U360, let's kind of get into some tangible things in terms of how it prepares you. It is an internship, so you're doing this to ideally be prepared for a job after college. So I have a couple questions. So, how did U360 help you build your professional network? Have there been any connections you made in U360 that have helped you since completing the internship? And just kind of looking at in what ways do the skills and experience you gained in U360 prepare you for the academic and professional experiences you've had since completing the internship? So kind of, can you talk a little bit about, or like entering the job market, like how U360 prepared you for what came next in all different ways?
I can go first. So for me, I think the professional communication is really important, especially for writing cover letters, doing outreach. Also, one thing about this program is you'll get really comfortable speaking on the phone, and I think that's a really valuable skill. A lot of times you can get a lot of answers over the phone, and being able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody is a very valuable skill, and I found it very helpful with networking and applying for jobs. And also in terms of connections, I would say the alumni network is really helpful. So once you complete the program, you'll be connected to all the other students who've completed the program. And I've networked with a lot of them, looking for job opportunities and just learning from each other. So I think that's another great resource that you can utilize after the program.
Yeah, this one is a challenging question for me because I actually do think very often, like I would say probably on a daily or weekly basis, if I'm doing something, it just reminds me of something that I've already done with U360. So it's just kind of these skills that are so widely applicable to I really like any job that you end up doing. I think you'll use something, if not a lot, from what you've done in U360. And to just speak about the alumni network, I think that one of the maybe more challenging things when you're coming out of college is just thinking, okay, I know that I am interested in this field or interested in this topic or interested in being a change maker, but I just don't know what jobs are out there. I just don't know how people do that or what positions exist. And just being able to see how the U360 network, all the different jobs that other people are doing, the kind of places that they've gone, the way they've been able to use their skills, it's really helpful to just see that and just know, okay, those people are doing this, they're applying their skills this way, and that looks interesting to me. And then you already have a connection to them, so you can just reach out. So I think that that's incredibly valuable, especially if you're interested in business or sustainability. There are so many different people, so many different U360 alumni and people that work at Manomet doing so many different things that you can just learn from them and get connected to them. And that's just invaluable when you're graduating from college or when you're looking for a job.
I would just share an experience recently being connected to Laura is she posted something about a group happening in Maine. It's focused on finding the generational divide between the elder generation, like the boomers, and then the younger, like millennials, and finding a divide around environmental issues and topics. And so she told me about this group, and so I've joined it. And since then, I have met so many people in the environmental field, and I'm working with someone right now in the environmental consulting field. So just through her and letting us know about different events and opportunities and groups happening in the region has just been really helpful, and I've really enjoyed the group so far that she's connected me to.
That's great. That's great to hear, Emma. That's awesome. And how about, did any of you develop any connections with the businesses that you were interviewing? Like, because that's a big part of U360 is building that professional network with the small businesses too.
I'll chime in real quick. There was
Oh.
definitely one business owner that wanted to like come to my capstone event, and we still email back and forth a little. But I just wanted to say as well, of that second semester where you can kind of focus in on your industry, it's a great opportunity to connect with businesses that you're interested in or want to learn more about. So I was really interested in urban economics and infrastructure projects. So I focused on transportation and really tried to just get an understanding of that industry, how it works, and then use that knowledge of interacting with those business owners to kind of guide my job search after. So while I wasn't directly connecting with them after the interview, that interview was so valuable in order to frame my perspective of the industry itself.
Excellent. And Autumn, look like you were about to say something at the same time.
Same thing as Max, but opposite. I kind of learned so much about the industry that I was diving into that I found out that wasn't really something that I thought was a good fit for me. And that may not have been a realization I would have had for a couple months down the line until I was applying for jobs and getting my first experience in that industry. So I think exactly the same thing. Like, it's an experience in an industry, whether or not you like it, that's some invaluable knowledge that you'll be saving yourself time later on figuring that out.
That's excellent. And we always like to say that U360 really can be what you want to make it, right? So it's very customizable kind of within the curriculum. And so that is a really good segue into my next question. So all of you, if people who are, yes, you probably heard when they were all doing their introductions, we have all different majors here. And so I guess my question for you is, in what ways do you think that U360 complemented your academic studies? And what would you tell students who aren't studying environmental or business disciplines about what they can gain from U360?
As a community and international development major, I think a lot of the lens we look through problems with in my major was about sustainability and long-term longevity for communities. And so I always kind of wanted an experience with small businesses because they're such a big part of developing communities and improving infrastructure. But at least at my college, the business school and the business courses weren't really tending towards what I was trying to get to the root of. I didn't want to take specific classes in accounting or finances. I wanted to get a more holistic view of a specific type of business. And I think that sometimes you can be scared off of an opportunity if you're not a business student, and that's what they're kind of gearing experiences towards. But by doing this program as someone who isn't a business student or involved in like heavy econ or finance, it's a really great way to get into that type of learning and understanding without fully committing to a business program or a specific rigor that you have to go through at your college. But that was my personal experience as being someone who wasn't environmental, wasn't business, but kind of interested in dabbling in both.
Tom, did I see you starting to unmute yourself? I think.
Yes, but I kind of got captivated with what Autumn was saying, so I lost my train of thought. Let's let somebody else go.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a theater and a philosophy major, I never had any business experiences, and this experience gave me some toolbox to complement what I lack in my major, because humanities major doesn't have like sort of like, you know, Excel sheet or a lot of this type of business skills entrenched in my curriculum, but this is definitely like complement that lack of it. And also when I learn about theater, I learn about the plays, but I don't learn about how to operate a theater company. So when I talk to the business owner, I kind of learn the practical aspect of doing theater and like the budget or how to fundraise and how to start a company. And that is very valuable experience.
You got it, Tom?
Yes, I got it. So very directly, I was able to get 2 course credits for doing U360 for my major in business sustainability. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap between what I was learning as well as with the program. However, I think also that the more practical learnings I got from doing U360 in terms of the communication and presentation skills also translated over to my academic program as well, for like school projects, as well as just learning more. I think I did a lot of like outreach for other businesses based on the learnings I got in U360. So a lot of those learnings translated over, as well as just getting a better understanding of that smaller business aspect of sustainability, which isn't really covered as much in traditional business courses.
I just wanted to add as well that a lot of the things I learned as an economics major, I'm not using in my current job, but almost every skill I gained at U360, I'm using in my current job and could be applied to any job. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I graduated with this major, but you end up doing something completely different. And no matter what you're doing, U360 will give you that foundation you need to step into that professional sphere, whatever it may be, whether it's related to your major or not.
That's great. Emma, not to put you on the spot, but as the one environmental major or former environmental major, do you have any thoughts? Because that is a discipline that does draw a lot of U360 students.
Yeah, it really put into context what I learned in the classroom and into the real world. I had a lot to speak about when I was going for some environmental jobs and internships after that internship, and it just really helped kind of complete full circle that degree that I had earned with this experience of this internship.
Great. So sort of a practical question. Did you have any prior work or like professional experience or internship experience before applying to U360? Did you feel like you needed that coming into the program? And if not, why did you choose U360 over other internship opportunities?
No, all of my jobs were like kind of typical summer jobs, high school jobs, and I didn't have any internship experience or anything similar to U360 in my background. And I felt very prepared for the internship anyway, but the internship itself, U360, prepares you. It's designed to prepare you for the professional world. So you can come from you can have any background knowledge or no work experience or a lot of work experience in many different ways, and you'll still find a lot of value in the internship.
I chose U360 over other internships because a lot of other internships, like you go into the internship and you directly do the job. But this U360 has the educational and training aspect, and it's more like a very for me, it's like a babysitting job program that like takes care of everything, and you just like go with it. So I don't need to be panicked, about not being able to do something, and that's what I needed as a sophomore without any experiences.
Yeah, I did the program as a senior, but I would say it's still like, while it was really applicable as a senior, I'd say it is really important to get those skills as early on in your academic and professional career as possible. And that I didn't have any other professional experience. I've been a camp counselor for like 6 years, and I needed to work during the summers to make money for school. So I also really liked that this internship occurred during the school year. And then I could also earn credits for it and still keep my job in the summer to help pay for school. So that was something really important for me. And I didn't have that professional experience, but it definitely gave me that foundation I needed before graduating and going into the professional world. And I wish I was in Emma's shoes where I had learned about it as a sophomore instead of as a senior, but I still got the same great experience that all the other alumni are sharing about now.
Great.
I think as someone who's going to be graduating this May into the job market and everything, there are so many people right now trying to find opportunities. I think that even though this internship is unpaid, you will get the skills that you need to get that paid internship or that paid position later on right after school while getting credits, like Tom was saying earlier. And I think that this is something that is definitely setting me ahead of some of my other peers graduating by having a full year of experience, especially virtually, and being able to say, I can manage myself, I can get things done by the deadline, I have this experience already, I am ready for the next leg up.
You have a professional reference that can be provided for you. Yeah, Tom, so as a business major, you know, a lot of times the thought is to go into like interning with like a bigger company or something like that. So why did you pick U360 over working, you know, interning with a for-profit company?
My advisor recommended it. Short
All right.
answer. I think it was also, I transferred schools, so I wasn't quite aware of U360 until my junior year. And because of that, I didn't sign up until my senior year because I was a procrastinator. I would also advocate for doing U360 probably as a junior or sophomore, just to sort of have that experience and be able to translate it over into more years of school. But also, it was just, it was a good program for me. It was a good fit. I thought that the culture at Manomet was also a very good fit for me as well.
Excellent. All right, so my last question for all of you is, with so many different options in terms of internship opportunities or ways to experience real world learning outside of the classroom, you know, there's a lot of different, you know, you have your course load, there are a lot of different things kind of competing for your time when you're in college, a lot of ways you can spend your time. So what would you say, we'll just go around for quick answers to wrap up, what would you say is the #1 reason why students should consider participating in this opportunity over others, you know, especially for 2 semesters? So in other words, why U360?
I think that for me, in my experience, U360 just encompasses so many different things, and I just think there's something in it for everyone. So regardless of whether or not you're interested in business or sustainability, which if you are, then you should definitely pursue this internship. Something that I learned just in the phase where we were focusing on a specific industry was just by having a specific industry that I could focus on, I found so much knowledge in just picking a specific thing to focus on and just researching it and realizing how much there was to, how many layers there were to the industry that I was researching. And that was really fascinating to me. And anybody can be interested in any industry. So I think for that reason, anybody can be interested in U360 for that alone. And on top of that, everything else is just, you're going to use the skills that you gain from U360. You're going to have days in the professional world where you're thinking about U360 and this is so similar to what I was doing. And this is a skill that feels very familiar to me. And that for that reason, I think it really rises above all the other internship opportunities that were presented to me.
I would say the holistic perspective of an internship. So having a 3-dimensional internship versus a 1-dimensional, you know, if you're at a large company, you know, you maybe just see one department or you're focused on one task just for a summer. And I really liked that the U360 program and Manomet like supported us throughout the whole process and gave us a 3-dimensional experience of training, of a chance to go out and apply those skills, and then the capstone to really put it all together and show what you've learned and apply it all. So for me, it was just that why U360 because it had so much more than other internships were able to offer me when I was looking.
I would add that this program is a student program, so it's really crafted around you and your success, rather than kind of you jumping into a job or an internship where they already have a project moving and you're just kind of a part of it or a piece of it. But this, you're the project, really, is like what you put into this is what you get out of it.
Build on that, Emma. I think the mentorship aspect of U360 is incredibly valuable. That definitely was one of the big takeaways for me, not only to have support and direction from Laura and feedback, but also the U360 alumni network, myself included. Emma and I are actually meeting with our group of students this evening to discuss their phase 3 action plans. So it's a big part of the program, and also gives you a lot more interaction for the work you're doing and getting a better understanding where you're at.
It's virtual, so you can do it from wherever, and it's flexible, so you can do it whenever. And that's something that you can't find with any internship. That's all I have to say.
I would just say it's a career accelerated package. Like it has everything and you can take whatever you want. And that's, yeah.
Well, that was great. Thank you, everybody. So, and thank you to everybody who's here. So just to wrap up, we are currently accepting applications for next school year. So if you are a college student looking for an internship for next school year, or if you know college students who you work with college students, you have friends who are college students, please, we're going to throw the link in the chat to our website where you can find more information about U360 and also the full job description and how to apply. But yes, the application deadline is June 30th, and there's instruction for the materials that you'll need to submit. Then it's a pretty simple application. And then we also, like I said, are going to be holding information sessions. There's several coming up between now and the deadline that will be held over Zoom all different days and times, where you can hear more about the curriculum and hear from one alum that will be joining me for each one. So, and my contact info is also on that webpage, so you can email me with any questions that you have. And just, yeah, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your experiences. This is great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Guys.